if you want to beat Jabba, just say Abracadabra. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. Today, let's talk about how to beat all of the Galactic Legends out there without using your own Galactic Legends. That's the way I typically like to go for it. It's a challenge though, folks. There's a lot of challenging aspects to it, and we'll talk about it. Huge shout out to my patrons. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for all of your support, guys. Truly could not do this without you. And if you want to support this channel for free, folks, all you gotta do is hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, comment, mount the algorithm, folks. It's a good time. Now remember, one thing to keep in mind, folks, if you want to see this in action, I do this. I have 3 different accounts. I love doing the OffMeta counters. If you want to see how it's done in person, you can come watch me on Twitch. It's free. You can come hang out and just chill out there, guys. It's a good time. We stream kind of late most evenings on GAC nights. It's a good time, folks. So come watch me there and, you know, hang out with like-minded people who want to destroy the meta. Now let's jump into it here, folks. So what does off-meta even mean? And I've gotten flack for this because I feel like people want to define things the way they want to define them, and that's fine. The way I use off-meta is we're not using Galactic Legends to kill meta is Galactic Legends. Like, yes, there are other good meta teams out there and everything, and that's fine. I just typically define meta as a Galactic Legend. Now, you know, there are other teams and characters that go in and out of that definition if you want to broaden it. And so Galactic Legend, I think that's the one like baseline, the one consistent thing that's going to be, by definition, by the way CG intends it, it's going to be overpowered. And so if we're going to beat the off-meta, or we're going to beat the meta, we're going to use off-meta teams. We're going to use teams that are not Galactic Legends to beat Galactic Legends. I think that's the simplest way to say it. And people say, like, well, you know, I hear this a lot. Well, if everyone uses Starkiller to beat Rey, then it's not really off-meta, right? And I think that's false, because the majority of people do not use Starkiller to kill Rey. In fact, most people just have to use a Galactic Legend. If you broaden it for the entire player base, the vast majority of people are too afraid or don't even realize that Starkiller can beat Rey. So, you know, people saying that is just kind of an indicator that you're kind of, I mean, we all live in a community where we pay more attention to these things. A lot of times we're on Discord servers, we pay more attention to what the meta, you know, what people are doing with the meta, and I feel like we kind of get stuck with our own definitions there. Now, we want to beat these meta teams with off-meta, and that sounds wonderful, right? Like, yay, we don't even need Galactic Legends, but there's obvious catches to it, folks. So, you know, and I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to be like, no, it's easy, guys. It's just this is the way of, I don't know, it's the way of pain in some ways. It's a challenging way to approach the game, though I would argue more rewarding. We'll talk about that in a minute, but there are lower win rates against Galactic Legends as opposed to, you know, using your own Galactic Legends. You're working on teams that are not for specific farms or unlocks, you know, so you're like, man, I would really like to unlock Lord Vader, but instead I'm working on this weird like turret team or something. You know, it's kind of rough in terms of your farming. So you'll inevitably have fewer Galactic Legends, probably, and it does take more skill. I mean, I don't mean to say that people who use Galactic Legends to kill other Galactic Legends have less skill, but they do. No, but it is more nuanced. If you mess up with your off-meta counter, it's going to be a pretty big deal, as opposed to Galactic Legend. Sometimes there's some wiggle room. And usually this kind of thing requires datacrons, but I would argue that in this day and age, you typically need to use datacrons if your opponent is using them, or you're at a pretty severe disadvantage. I know some people who watch these videos do not like datacrons, but that's just how it kind of works. Why should we do this then? Why don't we just use our own Galactic Legends, play the way everyone else wants to? Here's the thing, guys. You can punch way up in GAC and Territory Wars, I consistently get messages on my lowest account saying, how the heck did you beat me? You placed your Galactic Legends, and I placed all of mine. I have way more than you. How did you even clear one zone? Like, are you cheating or whatever? And I'm sure I've been reported for cheating because I know the off-meta and they don't understand it. And, you know, even in Kyber, a lot of people don't understand it. And so you can punch way up in GAC. You get a way bigger crystal paycheck, which is really nice. Obviously, you have to put effort into GAC, but that is a nice perk. You get a lot more crystals and, you know, just in general rewards. You also get to be unbearable in guild chat. You can just post all kinds of epic screenshots of how you dismantled an opponent, and it's very impressive. Your girlfriends will probably be impressed as well. And you can also place a crazy strong defense and still operate it on offense yourself. It's really good. And then learning the game mechanics is nice, guys. Knowing how different characters interact, that works for all the different game modes. It comes in handy and makes you a better player. So with that being said, let's go through all of the Galactic Legends, how to beat them, what's the best counter. And okay, so Jedi Master Luke, now we have Bane as a new character that has been added to all of this. I don't think he's on a couple of the first few slides, but Jedi Master Luke, there's almost no data with people using Bane against Jedi Master Luke for the most part, at least not in Kyber, though he did generally win. There's a couple builds with Jedi Master Luke using Jedi Cal on defense where Bane lost, you know, but at the same time, he's a pretty easy Galactic Legend to beat anyways. He's probably the least effective in 5v5 on defense. I'm not saying he's worthless in certain Datacron environments where, you know, like right now, there's Jedi ignore or deny revives, and it just stops a lot of these counters, like the dash one. Relies on people reviving from Vander Chewie, and if they can't revive, then that's a big deal. That counter is just completely off the table. Now, I would say that in general, so we have the Malicos team. The Seer Malicos team is another one that hasn't really been around since the last time I made this video. The Seer Malicos team does win pretty well. Starkiller still works. The AoE from the Starkiller Omicron that has the AoE is so nice against teams with a ton of buffs on them because he dispels them, and it also does extra damage based on how many you dispel, and you can just delete the entire team. I've done it a few times. It is extremely satisfying. You can also use General Grievous here, and if they have Shaak Ti is, for whatever reason, she's like, you know what? She's like that guy in Jurassic Park on the password. You didn't say the magic word, and it's a whole fiasco. This is the other. So Aphra kills 3 different Galactic Legends fairly consistently. This is one of them. You really want B2 because he gets rid of buffs and is pretty reactive. Of course, if you do that, then General Grievous's team does not have B2, and I don't know enough about Stap yet to know if he's going to add to the team. I do like Newt there. And so fairly easy team to beat. Like Dash is kind of my go-to. He's a lot of fun. You get, you know, having YOLO or Nest there is really nice. Beskar Mando's also pretty nice there because you can target characters outside of the taunt the Jedi Master gives. Now, one thing that I get a lot, I get it less lately, but people see the Eternal on defense and they'll be like, oh my gosh, just use Wampa. You have to use Wampa. Please use Wampa. Use Wampa. Use Wampa. And it's just real dumb to do that. And even the best Sith Eternal builds with trying to kill them with Wampa, it's like 58%. Usually you want to kill the ads and then use Wampa one-on-one. Great double tap, wonderful double tap, but usually not really in the cards to use Wampa to one-shot Sith Eternal Emperor, even though that's kind of the perception a lot of people have. Now, in terms of a full Sith Eternal Emperor team, so you can use the new Malicos, Seer Malicos team. It kind of works. It's like a 60-ish% depending on which build. There's not a ton of data around it, but it looks like it works. It does look like it works so far. And then so Aphra works pretty well. You don't have to have B2 on this one, and Newt on the General Grievous team is really nice. General Grievous has been my go-to to kill the Eternal Emperor for a while, though of course if it's like a build with Traya is going to shut down a lot of that stuff, because there's so many debuffs associated with the success of the Grievous team. You need those debuffs, especially target lock, and if Treya's on the team, she is constantly dispelling that stuff, and also Savage, like they just kind of make that Grievous team not work so well. Starkiller can work. It's just this race to total destruction. It's like who can get their ultimate first, and a lot of times Starkiller will be able to kill all of the adds. Usually that's the case. You kill all the adds, and then sometimes if you've been done just well enough, if the RNG gods smile, if you've gotten shock on Sith Eternal and it's stuck for a significant amount of time so that he doesn't gain bonus turn meter all the time, then you can sometimes win that. It's terrifying though. And then Inquisition, apparently they don't get a caption, but they do win this fight. Of course, if you have a bunch like the Traya build with Savage, that's gonna make this team a lot tougher to kill with like usually you just want to use a Galactic Legend, frankly. Like if you have Supreme Leader Kylo, I mean it's fairly easy. So you know, sometimes you just want to use a Galactic Legend, honestly. But yeah, you know, these are the off-meta decisions you can make, and you know, the Inquisition do pretty well. There's usually a really good Datacron available for him now. Supreme Leader Kylo, this one it starts getting interesting here, guys. So the best version on defense is going to have double tank, so Crew and First Order Stormtrooper. Of course, Crew goes really well on Seer Malicos teams, which we'll get into in other slides, but you can see that the Seer Malicos team beats this team at about 70% win rate, and if they don't have Crew on the team, which a lot of people don't because they keep them for their Seer Malicos squads, but they put Sith Eternal down anyways without Crew, then it's like an 80% win rate for the Seer Malicos teams. And Bane just completely, this is where Bane just starts asserting his dominance. It's like a 95% win rate with 1 or 0 Omicrons, and then 100% win rate with 2, though there's not a huge amount of data, frankly, not yet. Now, other counters, Starkiller is a little bit better against this with Darth Vader because you don't, because yeah, Supreme Leader Kylo has Hux on his team usually, and Hux stops you from gaining bonus turn meter, and so EP Mara, like EP lead, doesn't really work because it's all turn meter based. Darth Vader goes into Merciless Massacre and does all those basics, and Starkiller hits every single person that Darth Vader goes. He just follows him like a lost little puppy. It's very cute and sweet, and so he gets his ultimate charge a lot faster using Darth Vader instead of waiting for Emperor Palpatine to cycle through again, because he doesn't have any he just has to go by speed. He doesn't have turn meter gain. There's still the old Jedi Revan version with you know, it's the age-old version. You have to have them all clocked the right way. I think the more simple version to be able to beat this is with armor instead of what, like Old Ben or something, and it's a little bit worse win rate. There's still decent win rates, somewhere in the 60s or 70s, I think. And then Inquisition, they do work here as well. They can't be stunned. We'll start looking at more percentages as we go further on as well, because I think I put more and more effort into the further slides, because that's... I was like, man, we gotta have a little professional pride here. And then Cat May works really nicely here, folks. It's really fun to see. The picture with Shock T here, I think I prefer C-3PO, but Shock T also works. The Cat May team does work very nicely, though, I must say. So Rey teams, this is where, I mean, she's like the stalwart on defense, right? And the current meta is not actually going to have this same team. The current meta is going to be mostly resistance, but you know, I think once this current Datacron set goes away, we'll settle back into having a bunch of droids and, you know, Barriss and everything. And so with Bane, without his Datacron, I know that there's a Datacron form currently. If without it, though, he's at a 70% win rate. With the Omicrons, though, with his first 2, then you can get up to an 80% win rate, just about. It was a very interesting thing. I was like, geez, I didn't realize he was going to be quite as high against this team. But, of course, the more relics involved, the less chance he's going to have, etc. you know, better modding and everything. The one that's really interesting to me, so Starkiller has not been that relevant against Rey for like a year. It really pains me to say it, but there have been builds that you can use for Starkiller to be able to beat this team, but he is kind of losing his touch. Very sad. It makes me really sad, guys. I love Starkiller, and he's kind of just been co-opted in 3v3 to go with a Seer team because he doesn't diminish himself, because he can go with full UFUs, unaligned force users. In 5s, it's not quite that simple because he needs Jedi and Sith as well, who aren't UFUs by definition, but luckily, the Seer Malicos team doesn't really need Starkiller to be able to win against this current build here. You can see the different, you want Fulcrum Ahsoka as, you know, one of the three, like top 3 in this group. You have 84% win rate with Crew on the team. If you add Maul instead of Crew, you can have a 91% win rate. And then if you have Maul and Crew and you leave, this is so interesting to me, and you leave Jedi Cal, or Baby Cal, off of it, it's a 96% win rate against this team, and then you could actually add Cal to your own Rey team, and that probably adds makes this team tougher to beat in a lot of ways. You know, Inquisition still beat it. The General Skywalker team still beats this. It's tougher and tougher to be able to do that, but you can. Lord Vader has a ton of counters that are mostly not that effective against him, frankly. So Bane obviously wins. It looks like Bo-Katan is going to just destroy him, even without her amazing Datacron that she currently has. Afra can work. She usually just kills the ads. You want IG-88 there instead of B2, just to be clear. And then, you know, the Fennec Bounty Hunter team with BAM, that can work. It's a pretty low win rate, but if you know what you're doing, and especially if you're a lower place, you know, you're not in Kyber 1 against people with crazy high relics and stuff, it is a pretty good option. I win way more consistently with my smaller account with like a Relic 3 Fennec, because people don't know how to mod, they don't know what they're doing really. The Troopers team actually works very consistently against this squad if there's not a Datacron that just completely suppresses it, which it has a couple times recently. There's also the Inquisition have like 62% win rate, not great against this particular build. It's probably even worse against other builds. And then the Seer Malicos team, you can see there's actually, if you have Baby Cal as the third main character, if you take out Fulcrum Ahsoka and you just add Crew and Maul, it actually has a decent sample size of 100% win rate against the build you see up top. It's fair. I was very surprised to see that. Kind of cool. We'll have to try it this coming season. So against Kenobi, he suppresses turn meter gains, so there's not a ton that you can do here. Darth Bane has a 0% win rate. I thought that was funny. So Katmei can work. You guys can search my guide on how to do that if you're interested. Let's see, the Maul team, it's really interesting. If you can see the little red line there between Cat and Mace, and what's going on there is, if Mace is not like, the first 4 are set in stone as like the best versions, and then usually Mace is the best version on defense, but the other 4 are usually pretty consistently on the team. And if they don't have, if they have Padme as the last, like Maul actually really struggles against it. If they have Shaak Ti as the final character, then they have, I mean, it's still only a 57% win rate, but it's just kind of an interesting thing. You can beat Kenobi with Maul if you want to. You know, well, if you have the proper motivation, you can use Bounty Hunters to just snipe out Cat, and then use General Skywalker to clean the team up. There's not a ton of good options against Kenobi, guys. He is a very challenging guy to beat with any team, to be honest. So there's Jabba, and he's an interesting guy. More and more counters out there. There's Dark Trooper Moff Gideon out there now, and it took me a while to finally to look at all the numbers, because remember, there's just so many Datacrons currently out there, and Dark Trooper Moff Gideon hasn't been out for long enough. So like it looks like it's about 50% win rate against builds with Embo, and then for some reason Boba really puts a stop to them. Maybe he just like one-shots characters with his missile or something, but against Dark Trooper Moff Gideon teams, Boba is actually significantly stronger than Embo for some reason. We'll have more data once datacrons stop. You know, there was a pretty recently a Boosh cron that was really good that went out, and now we have a Dark Trooper Moff Gideon cron, and it just kind of skews the numbers. There's also Afra as a decent win rate, guys. If you put all the Omicrons on, it's somewhere around 83% win rate. If you don't put all 3 of them on, so the most important one is typically going to be the special Omicron. That's the one that moves the needle the most. But yeah, you can get up to 83-ish% win rate. With an Afra team. You really need B2 here, guys. He's so super vital to be able to get those extra turns, to be able to dispel things and just kind of stop Jabba from gaining too much momentum. Starkiller actually works here. It works amazing against people who suck at modding. So Starkiller does work. I've done it a lot on my smallest account, and even in Kyber 1 against the very best versions of Jabba, it still has like a 57% win rate, which I thought was interesting. Depending on which datacron set, Inquisitors can destroy Jabba or really struggle against him. It's just kind of, you'll have to check depending on what's going on. And then CLS also depend, I mean, a lot of these things are dependent on datacrons as usual, but CLS does do some really interesting stuff because he takes so many turns, and a lot of times Jabba teams have a ton of tenacity, so they resist things, which gives the CLS team even more turn meter and stuff. If you have some kind of a datacron that's going to boost the CLS team in some important way, then you're going to have a far more than decent chance of being able to kill Jabba in the off meta. So pretty interesting stuff. Bane has an almost 0% win rate. And then if you use Nice Sisters, I have at the very top, Nice Sisters, if you don't use any, if you don't use Zombie, you have a chance to win. There's like a 17% win rate right now, though I think a lot of that has to do with people not knowing what they're doing. If you want to just kill the ads, though, cheaply, then Nice Sisters can do it. It's kind of a mess, but you can do it with Nice Sisters. Now, Leia has almost no counters outside of, like, there's some datacrons that are gonna help, like datacron squads. There was recently a Mothma team with Biggs cron that got nerfed by CG, actually, that was beating it pretty consistently. Otherwise, you can use Bane for like a 60%. I know that there's a cron for Bane right now, so it's a little higher than that, I'm sure. And then Inquisition it's like, if they don't have a good datacron, then it's pretty bad when outright rate. Though I will say Inquisition, because there's so much death mark from Inquisition that goes on this Leia team because they cleanse themselves so much and stuff, that the Inquisition can usually kill the majority of a Leia team, and then you can clean it up with something else. But there's almost nothing right now that's beating Leia unless it's datacron specific or Galactic Legend, which is hilarious because you know, CG was like, hey, she's not going to be good at defense, and everyone's like, yeah, she is, just really bad. And she's not. She's in fact very strong on defense, and if you want to force your opponent to use a team that is, you know, Galactic Legend level, then or have them risk one of their really good character or teams, but without, you know, they might actually fail something, then it's a good bet to put Leia on defense, honestly. I was surprised at how strong she is compared to the current sentiment surrounding her. Now, there's always going to be seasonal things. I've been evinced a lot, you know, datacrons change things, and you know, we've got to plan accordingly. And so a lot of my videos are actually surrounding strategy on how to deal with these different teams, and, you know, which teams should we just bring Galactic Legends for, and which teams should we plan to use off meta for. And so keep your eyes out, keep them peeled, I suppose, for off meta counters from me. There's a lot of videos that come out. These are just some thumbnails and examples of my most recent work on these. So yeah, anyways, folks, what am I missing? What off meta things am I missing? I'm sure that there's something that you guys think that I've missed. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Xerath prevails.